Hey, we're live. End of season 1. Christine, you look good. How you doing?
To my friend.
Yeah.
Let me turn this down so we can talk.
Oh, I was waiting for the end of the song. Like, I love this song.
I'm loving our new intro music. Like
I
that's
like
one of
it.
the things that came out of season 1, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
awesome. It's
I
awesome.
love it. How are you doing?
I am well. I
Good.
probably need to take a deep breath and just get grounded in this moment, as we
Yeah.
always do. Been running all day. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so let's just do that. Let's do that
Okay.
for ourselves and for our listeners. Let's just take a
Okay.
deep breath. Whew.
Oh.
Yeah, let's take another deep breath and let it out with a sigh. Whew. I was thinking back over this first season and our episodes and all the 8 dimensions of wellness and all the things we learned and all the people we talked to. And I am so excited to dive into this conversation today.
Yes. Me too.
Yeah. Where
We
you want to
talked
start?
to let's go ahead and introduce ourselves so we can talk about our ladies, because I'm ready to go back over the 8 dimensions. I'm ready to recap this amazing season that we just had.
Let's
So,
do it.
hi, ladies. Welcome to our show. I am Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial business owner. I am the owner and operator of Sheila Glow LLC, a handmade shea butter company. I am a champion for your self-care, business care, and intentional wellness.
And hey, y'all, I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, and published author who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Yes, and together we are Women Connected in Wisdom, a podcast grounded in the 8 dimensions of wellness.
I can't believe we have covered all 8. We're
Right.
doing a summary.
Yes.
We're live on all the major platforms now.
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
And I can believe it, but I did not expect it to go so quickly.
right?
That's where I'm at with
2
it.
months,
Right, which is crazy.
right?
The trees are budding.
Right? Our season 1 is ending as we're about to jump into the new season of spring here in Georgia.
Ooh, right on time.
Right? Absolutely. So let's talk about the 8 dimensions of wellness
Yes.
and what's up with all of them
Yes.
right now.
So if we go through them, right, we started with physical wellness with Dr. JoVeezy. Then what are the other ones? Spiritual wellness, financial, social, mental and emotional is one, right? Put the parentheses on it. Intellectual,
Right?
environmental, and
Occupational.
boom. I knew I was forgetting one. Occupational with Chartisia. That was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that show with Dr. JoVeezy talking about physical wellness. Perfect way to kick it off,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Because as you and I were talking about before the show, all of these are interconnected,
Right.
right? There's intersectionality at a lot of them. But physical is one that tends to pop up in almost every show when we talk about physical wellness. Like it starts in the body.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We don't have our body in wellness. It's really challenging to have wellness in some of the other aspects.
Yes. Yes. And especially with what I loved about her being our guest for physical wellness is that Joe just had our youngest member of Manifestation Mondays, right? And so thinking about giving birth, being a new mom, and what that means for your physical wellness in 2020, 2021 quarantine, that's a very specific time. And what I love that she said was talking about the relationship between rest and then resetting, and how different seasons, cause you to love yourself in a different way. And even though I'm not a mom yet, I love the idea of resting and resetting. We talk about occupational wellness with Chartisia, and that's exactly what I do between my business and my personal tasks. Rest a little bit, take 10 seconds to drink some water, get grounded, look at the trees, look at the birds. Let's take a sip. Let me
Okay,
take a little.
I'm going to show you, for our listeners that are listening audio, you can't see it, but those that are live, this is the new thing that I got for
I love
wellness.
it.
This is a gallon water jug called Bottled Joy. Here's what I love about it. Like, it reminds you to drink a gallon of water a day. It's a physical reminder. But look, it says Bottled Joy. And then the other thing it says on the side, it says a bottle of strength.
Ooh.
Well, I think when it's full of water, like that's just the absolutely. But it just came in this week, and so I'm upping my game on my water because you always remind me of that, and I think it's just like sometimes it's the incremental steps, it's the little steps, right?
Yes.
You and I were chatting before we got online. I took a 15-minute power nap today. I have been running, and I was like, woo, I need some energy from somewhere. Right. And I have Insight Timer, which is a free app on my phone, and it does guided meditations. And so sometimes it's hard to get my brain to shut off for a power nap, right? Especially in the middle of the day. But I just get in there and I search, and it says power nap. And boy, guided me straight into like 15 minutes, felt recharged, felt ready to go. I was like, whoo. Yeah, it was good. I was grateful.
Good. I love that. So yes, we've talked to amazing women, right? This is Women Connected in Wisdom. So we are true to our name and offering resources and having conversations about what that looks like in different walks of life, in different areas of wellness. Like if I think about another one of my favorites, I'm flipping through my notes if you guys hear all these pages. One of my other favorite parts were the apps, right? So it's really easy to talk about wellness. Like your book says, Stillpoint, right? It talks about how we use wellness in everyday languages. Like, oh, well, take care of yourself, hope you get some rest. And what does that really mean? It means different things for different people, or maybe it just means water. And that's one thing that we all need to implement a little bit more. But having apps and things that help keep me organized in the different areas has really helped. So when we talked about financial wellness, we mentioned an article that was talking about the different apps that'll help you keep organized. One of them was Mint, right? It helps you with your credit score, your spending, your budgets. Mine was Get Upside. I love getting money back on the money that I spend. I don't know. It's like an adult happiness. It just makes me happy to know that my money is working for me and I'm being well financially. It's like, yes, we're getting there,
And that was the app called Get Upside, right?
Yes.
We'll put that in the show notes. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it.
I just mentioned the Insight Timer. Boy, that one helps me. It's a free one that helps me with meditation and rest. So I think that one would probably go under emotional and mental wellness. And I would also say physical wellness, because they have really cool apps on there. Like if you can't sleep in the middle of the night, and there's one that is even said awake in the middle of the night. So you don't have to function that well in the middle of the night. Right. Yeah. So I love it. And it is one of my favorite. And they also have some that aren't talking, that are just music and real chill and stuff like that. But I think it's got like over 10,000 or 15,000 guided meditations on it. Wow. So it's one of my favorite resources.
Wow. I like that. And what I use for meditation is Headspace. So I usually do it in the morning. I usually don't use meditation to go to sleep. I use it to create a space of stillness in the day that I can return back to if I need to, So I just listened to a 10-session pack, is what he called it, of patience. And so talking about patience and impatience, and how really impatience is a thought, and you look at it and you note it and you let it go. And that feels so much better than what are they doing on the car, and I'm arguing with people, and now I'm all anxious and everything. It's like, you know what? I see you, and I let you pass. It's just so much easier for me that way.
Right. I love the way that you say that. One of the things that I've always described to folks that are new to meditation or that haven't experienced it before is, to me, meditation is listening. Like praying is talking and asking, and meditation is the listening piece.
I love that.
Right? And so I incorporate it in my morning routine. And then I don't do it every day, but I love that you say that about taking a break and doing it in the day. Like on Mondays, I have a community that I belong to that we have a 30-minute, it's a singing meditation that happens. And it is a complete joy. Like it's at lunchtime and it's just 30 minutes and we pop in and we're listening and we're meditating. And it's amazing how much more productive I can be when I take that 15 or 30 minutes and calm my brain and get back to balance and really have good wellness and a place of solidarity, I guess is the word. That's not the right word, but
I like it. It's solidarity to yourself is how I see it. Like as a kitchen manager, again, I'm talking about 14-hour shifts. Christine, I'm talking about I was being bit every single night. Did not know what was biting me. I could not sleep. I would wake up with whelps the next day, so big that when they went away, they left bruises. Okay. And then go back and work 14 hours the next day. So when we talk about rest and resetting, when it's craziness in the restaurant and you're planning stuff, we would stop and huddle with the other managers, right? Okay, what's going on with the kitchen? What's going on with the floor? Who's here? Who's not here? What do we need to do? What is the plan right now? That helps me so much in my business. Okay, where are we at? What do we need to do for the rest of the week? It's Wednesday, right? Where are you at based on your goals? What do we need to do today? And where are we going for the rest of the week? And the difference is that in the workplace, a lot of times we're taught to just keep going. Your break is this amount of time. You might get less than that if we need you. And there's no 15-minute nap in the middle of it,
Right.
And so having that become a habit is work. And I love that we have these tools that we can use to really have that look healthy.
Right. Well, when we talked to Dr. Sheila K. Collins, my co-author of Stillpoint, and we talked about emotional and mental wellness. And I think about your story that you just said, and I think about the definition that we do, and you've probably reached it because I know you're reading the book, but where this is the one, there's two of them, but
okay.
I'll read them both and then tell you the one I probably need tattooed across my forehead backwards so I can read it in the mirror every morning, right? But, self-care is not continuing to educate and train ourselves to withstand more stress in order to take on more stress. We all know people who insist on staying in unhealthy jobs or relationships while asking for help in order to tolerate more abuse gracefully.
Right.
Self-care is not putting ourselves, this is the one I need tattooed across. Self-care is not putting ourselves through frequent reoccurring cycles of overwork followed by crashing to recovery. This rhythm of full speed ahead followed by total collapse is damaging to all dimensions of ourselves, the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So I think what a lot of our guests have talked about this week, we talk about in our book, what self-care is. Tuning in and recognizing earlier and earlier the subtle physical signs of potential difficulties. Caring people, women especially, I've just watched it over the years. They become good at reading other people's body language, like clenched jaws, stooped shoulders, and sad eyes. But self-care means tuning into ourselves and learning how to read our own body language.
Yes.
I think of that when I think of course, Dr. Collins, because she wrote a lot of that, but also when I think about Dr. Jo and about physical wellness, and then it starts with our bodies. It starts with paying attention and being body wise, so we can realize like, what else do we need in these other dimensions of wellness? Like, how are we emotionally and mentally? We are right now, this weekend, at the year anniversary of the United States shutting down as we knew it from the global pandemic. I know folks in Europe were already shut down by this point a year ago, but really our lives changed drastically a year ago. And I know a lot of my clients, my coaching clients, and some of my organizations that I work with, everybody's kind of fraying at the edges a little bit right now. And I think part of that is we have body memories, like, right? Our bodies are, and if we're not tuned in and paying attention and going like, our bodies may be sending up these signals like, oh, danger, Will Robinson, like something's coming, something bad's coming. And what it can be is an anniversary. right? The anniversary of, oh, wow, like this time last year, things changed and haven't completely changed back.
Right.
And we're still in it. And we're
Right.
still dealing with, I mean, like you
Yes,
do
I do.
more than any of us, right?
Ooh, and I mean, I think that's how it always feels personally. It always feels like I know more than anybody else what this pain is like. And that's why our testimonies are so important, because you're like, wow, I really got hurt. I have this scar on my elbow, right? But you have a scar on your knee. Let's talk about that, and let's put some Sheila glow on it and heal and keep going. You know what I mean? But it's so crazy, Christine. I was thinking about it earlier, and I remember being a server, right? So I was a kitchen manager. I stepped down because my mom was sick. This is what we're talking about today, why wellness is so important to us, right? I stepped down. My mom had cancer. I did not know her for 12 years. I met her, graduated high school, went to college, got a salary job, and she got sick. So I stepped down, right? I realized I don't want to climb higher on this ladder than I'm at. This is not what I feel like I'm supposed to spend the next 103 years doing, right? So let me go find those things. I know the part of my job that I love doing. Maybe I should do that part more time in the day. You know, I stepped down, I was a server, and they said, I remember one of the managers I was on the management team with, she said, you know, we're going to have less tables on the floor, and so we'll need less of you. I said, you're laying servers off? What did you say? Because we give you 2 weeks, but and in 3 days, you know, is the anniversary of Breonna Taylor being murdered in her house. And I think about how she was an EMT, somebody who gave service to the sick people in the community. And when she needed it, they told the ambulance to leave. That's crazy. You know what I mean? And had she been working, she might have been the one in the ambulance. And so it doesn't matter how much you give to people sometimes. You have to make sure that you are good, and we could take that in an angry way, which it is sometimes, you know, but like Sheila K. Collins said,
So
right, right, and understandably so, right? But I love what Sheila K. Collins said, you know, um, we should turn the things that hurt us into art, right? And what is this loss? What type of life is this loss calling you to live? And that's what I think about. That's what I think about with my mom passing away, right? In the time that we had, were you effective with the time that you had? You know, maybe you weren't supposed to have more time, but you were supposed to use it wisely. So what does that look like in a healthy way, right? The 168 hours a week, what opportunities do you have in that time? And how can you be intentional about it? Because women are wise. Women are connected. We do amazing things, and we do amazing things for other people, but we deserve to be taken care of. And sometimes other people aren't going to do that, but it's not their responsibility. It's our responsibility. So that's why I've had such a good time talking to these ladies. And to mention Sheila K. Collins one more time, at least for right now, because, you know, I like to add stuff. Okay. Um, I love how she's talking about the art of grieving,
yeah.
right? Because a lot of people are grieving this year. People passed away. We can't go to the hospital. There's a lot, you know, funerals were canceled, like a lot of birthdays were different. And so what does that look like to work through that in a healthy way, and to bring up the spiritual wellness with our grassroots practitioner, right? Our spiritual practitioner, talking about breathing in love and breathing out love, focusing on that and meditating, resting and resetting and walking has
Well,
been great.
talking about the GSP Shoinka Rahim when she was on here, and
Yes.
being able to shift your self with breathing in and breathing out love, and
Mm-hmm.
dancing and moving and chanting, and
Yes.
she was on for spiritual wellness, but the reality is it connects with all of that, right?
Yeah.
that we
Yeah, it
start
does.
that we start with that, and that we move our bodies, and that we sing and dance and tell our stories. And
Yeah.
what do we I always love when you say that about 168 hours in a week, and that especially as women, we tend to schedule things for other people, or take care of other people, or put other people's needs above our own. And
Mm-hmm.
I know, as a person who works with caregivers often, that caregiving is a dangerous profession. And almost every woman I know is a caregiver, whether they're caregiving children, parents, or partners, or their jobs, right? Or the environment. Like women, a lot of times, are the caregivers. And so caregiving can be dangerous because if you don't take care of yourself, you can die or
In
be
real life.
in real life,
Yes.
before the person or the people that you are caregiving. And so when I think about that 168 hours in a week, I think, what have you scheduled for yourself? You know, are you getting enough sleep? Are you eating really healthy and love prepared meals? Are you moving your body and exercising? You know, next week we talk about environmental wellness. We have an awesome guest coming. We'll talk about her a little more at the end of the show. But, you know, really talking about the power of moving our bodies.
Yes.
And so, you know, we asked our guests and we asked social media, Shannon, about like, what is our wisdom in action? So, you know, we've been doing this for 2 months now. I would love to hear some of your wisdom in action around these 8 dimensions.
Yes. So one of my wisdoms in action, yes, I think, was to walk outside, right? So I have a goal to run 4 times a week. And sometimes I hit it, sometimes I don't. Most times I do. And I'm working on being consistent this year. But if I feel like I've been inside too much and I don't run that day, I'm still going to walk, you know, and taking more walks, being more intentional about being outside, taking my coffee outside in the morning. I did that this morning, you know, but again, I genuinely slow down. I rest and reset and look at the trees, look at the birds, and all of this stuff it'll fall in place. It'll figure itself out. So that's been a really big one. Me journaling. I told you ladies about that on Monday. I bought a new journal. I feel like I started slowing down because I saw the pages getting closer to the end. And I said, no, you need to get a new journal and keep writing. And me taking my time for myself this morning has really helped today go great. And being gentle, even though I haven't always been on the journal habit the past few weeks or running the past week or so, to get back on it and then stay committed. That's all you need just to keep going, because it's a lifestyle. It's not a diet, you know, like we were talking about earlier. So those have been my pieces of wisdom in action.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you.
Love it. I, you know, in 2 months, so much happens because you and I like to schedule, plan, and do it.
Yes.
But, you know, I think about my wisdom in action in the last 2 months. Environmental wellness. I'm taking a really cool class about decluttering from my friend Melody, who we're hoping to have as a guest in the future. And it's about Shine On. And so this last weekend, I spent almost all day outside, like working on the yard, clearing up, because you know it's spring cleaning, but really getting my front porch where I'm love being out there, because I call it now it's my front porch office. You know, the only people like to come by a lot. But we hung some really gorgeous green Boston ferns, and of course the birds immediately were like, "Oh, new high rise." So I was joking that I was like, "Well, it looks like a little bit of Southern living," because you know how my porch is white. And it's and so I hung that up, and I always think about my mom when I do that, because she loves ferns and so I sent her a picture, and I was like, I gotta capture a picture now, so because let's be real, you know, when the birds move in, then it's not gonna look like Southern living. I'm gonna have clean up to do, but I created that environmental outdoor space because I do think we've probably got a few more months where we're still socially distanced, and you know, until it's safe to gather inside. And so I was like, I want to create a beautiful space that if folks stop by, we can sit outside and have a conversation. And this, you know, it's spring in Georgia, which we're really lucky. I mean, gorgeous. So that was for sure some of my wisdom in action. And just like you said, like in the midst of a day or Zoom meetings in between, I'll walk outside and just, even if it's 5 minutes, just taking a deep breath and letting out some of that stress, or stopping and watching a squirrel build a nest, you know. And And for sure on the physical, getting my daily walk in. You know, I'm a stretcher and a 2+ mile walk. I think I
Yeah.
need to pop it up, but you know, it's kind of my, I used to be you may not know this. I used to be a long distance runner. And so 2 miles is kind of my warm up. But right now, that's all I've been kind of doing because of
Yeah.
time wise. But
Right.
I probably need to bump up the mileage there just
Okay.
because I'm warming up at 2. But
I like that. And
yeah,
what I think I'm going to bump up. So the goal is to run 4 times a week. I have been hitting the goal of running consistently, right? So I started doing that and was able to leave and make it back and not stop. So now I'm going to start working on my speed. Yeah, I get a little bit faster. And I was hanging out with my girls from college, some of my old roommates, and we were talking about doing yoga. And I love yoga, so they said it. You know, I'm gonna hold them to it. I was thinking about the next time we hang out, us having a yoga session and then going to eat after. So we do a little bit of both. Yeah.
I love it. Well, Carolyn Renee, who was our guest for intellectual wellness, really talked about yoga
Yeah.
and talked about, because she was going through that leadership training, and talked about a type of yoga I had not heard about before, which was pretty cool. That came
Yeah.
from Egypt. And so yes to incorporating some of that in. I have for years, like we talked about on that show, done me and Rodney Yee for my AM yoga. You know, it's just my little 10-15 minute
Yeah.
hatha yoga practice. But I can tell you, he always says at the end of the video, I should be able to know it. I've been doing it for years, but you know, he really talks about basically what he's saying is incremental steps. Like he might make small changes, but then it's going to be large gains. And I think about that with all our wellness, right? That often we're like, oh, you know, I've got 50 pounds to lose. I can't, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I work 14 hours a day. Like, how can I make time for myself? You know, and I used to follow Fly Lady. Did you ever hear about Fly Lady?
I don't think so.
She was a woman. She is still a woman in North Carolina, which we should see about having her on. That would be interesting.
That would be awesome.
She teaches about organizational systems and keeping your house clean.
Cool.
And so what her method is always 15 minutes. Set a 15-minute timer, and you can do anything in 15-minute increments. And if that's too long, set it for 10 minutes or set it for 5 minutes. But that whole notion, because, you know, I used to be a really great procrastinator, that whole notion of I don't have time for something, right? And I think often as women, we do that as with our wellness. Like, but when I think about it, do we have a minute? Do we have 5 minutes?
You probably do.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. And it may be after the kids go to sleep or before they wake up or when you go to the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
But starting to build it in little incremental pieces, right? That it doesn't have to be a whole day. I mean, that would be lovely, and you deserve a whole day.
A few days, a few weeks.
Right?
3 months, take a quarter off. You know what I mean? Be able to afford it.
Right?
Yeah.
But it can be little everyday things.
Right.
I remember Soyinka on that spiritual episode talking about how she's doing wellness videos, like in little 2 to 3 minute spurts where she sings and chants and breathes in and breathes out love. And I just think about, we can do this.
Yes.
But it's about intentionality, right?
Yes. And again, you know, it's really interesting because I know it almost sounds cliche, but a lot of times the simple things like that are true, right? That's really what Sheila Glow is about. My mom was a great person. You know, everybody she lived around loved her. They were amazing. And when I think about one major lesson that her passing away taught me, she lived in this room, right, in this building with a lot of other people. And by the end of her life, you could barely open the door all the way because she had so much stuff in the room, right? So I'm like, okay, my mom's a hoarder. I need to not be a hoarder, right? And fast forward to her tea light vigil after she passed away. I had it at the building where she lived, and we had it on the inside, and they had this outside court on like the inside of the building, so it wasn't near the street. And one of her neighbors were talking about how nice she was and how she probably didn't need to buy that stuff. She did that to help whoever was selling it. And so that gave me a new perspective, right? But I said, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to spend money that I should be investing so that I can help on a broader scale and then crowd myself out of my own life. I'm not doing it. You know what I mean?
Say that again.
I'm not going to help other people and spend money that I should be investing and crowd myself out of my own life, giving other people what is supposed to be for me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and there's such a balance between self and community care, right? Because
Right.
I know you like as a completely generous person, and that's not what you're talking about. You're not
Right.
talking about being selfish. And
No.
I just want to call that to our readers' attention because oftentimes, like when we talk about self care, people
Mm-hmm.
think, oh, well, that's selfish. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've met folks that were literally like, I can't take care of myself dying.
Yes.
And they felt like it was selfish to focus on themselves. And
Right.
that's not what we're talking about, right? This is
Mm-mm.
a balance between self and community care. But
Right.
it's that analogy about when remember when we used to travel and get on planes. I think we
Right.
talked about this in one episode where, they say when the oxygen mask pops down, put it on yourself first before you turn and help the other person. And if we
Yes.
don't oxygenate ourselves, if we don't fill our buckets, then we don't have things left to give, you know?
Right. Yes.
So
Yes.
so I think that's so wise, Shannon, like about to not crowd ourselves out of our own lives.
No, you deserve more space than that. And it's really about taking up the space that you take up. Like, I don't want to share what are they called?
Rest,
Armrest. Yeah, I
like
want both armrests in my life. Okay. I want leg room. I want to be able to stretch in any way and have room for in my that whole this is my bubble. And I
right,
have room for myself. Yes. And so one thing that I've been working on, we talked about the 168 hours, right? If if I can do it now, then I'm going to do it now. We took a break right before we came on the show. I washed the dishes real quick. Guess what? Dishes are done. Boom, just like that. And we came on the show on time. Exactly. Environmental wellness. What does your space look like? But at the same token, if there's something that comes up that I want to do, that I say, you know what, I want to do this, but I already have my day scheduled. I need to stick to the time schedule that I set, just like a budget, right? For your money, I have a budget for my time. I'll put it on another day. Does it need to happen this week, or can that go to next week? And I'll make sure that I get it done next week. And that really helps me feel at peace with saying, it's not no, but not right now. Or if you have time, do it right now. And then now we're crossing stuff off. Now we're organizing stuff, and we're not just having ideas that feel good, that give us anxiety because they're not done. We're not letting other people move our schedule all out of whack. Actually, nope, I need all this time today, like I said at the beginning of the day, and that's how I keep my space in my life and make sure that I get stuff done.
oh, I think that's awesome. Yeah, when you talked about calendar, so I was thinking about that in regards to I'm not gonna let it crowd me out of my own life because that
Right.
can be stuff, or it can be scheduling, like where we
Mm-hmm.
schedule for other people, or
Yes.
we say, we talk about in the Stillpoint book about boundaries and saying no in order to be able to say yes, right? That
Yes.
it's important about making choices that especially being raised in the South, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we're taught, we got to be polite. We've got to say yes when people invite us to things, and
Mm.
we can crowd ourselves out of our own life, right? Just
Yeah.
what you were saying. I think that's so wise. So, really, what do we need to say no to in order to
No,
say yes to more wellness?
I would say no to things that diminish my level of wellness in any category, right? Or things that aren't aligned. Sometimes it might be great, for example, to serve at church, right? Before quarantine, I was a greeter for Fusion, and Fusion is lit, okay? Fusion is the young adults ministry at Victory World Church. We meet on Tuesday nights and we have a ball. I have not been for about 365 days now, and with, again, my mom passing away, them laying off servers, and me saying, you know what? I'm actually not going to come back. I'm going to start my own business and start a podcast and do all this other stuff. I
Right.
decided to say no to being a greeter for this season in my life so that when I give, it can be from a healthy place and not a place of I'm supposed to do this. I have to get my house together first and put on my oxygen mask because I'm about to suffocate out
Right.
here, you know. And so things like that, I would say no to.
Well, one of the things you said yes to was creating your new business and Sheila,
Yes,
which is one of our sponsors of this podcast. Will you
yes.
talk just a smidge about it? And also,
Oh,
I want you to mention about your Shearos. I want
yes.
our
So
listeners to know about this.
yes, because we need nominations. So let's start with the Shearos, right? We talked about some of our guests that we've had. This is the end of the first season, our recap. We've had amazing women that were connected within wisdom, right? These are all great examples of Shearos. Chartisia, who helped, and you, Christine, right? Who helped with voter registration, getting those teams organized so that Georgia could have 90, what was it, 90% of the registered voters vote this year, you
Right.
know. That
Incredible
is
turnout.
right. That is a Shayro. Christine Gotro, who's a podcaster. Okay, she gave me this. You see the illumination on my face. Christine did this. Okay, the tablecloth in the Shaylo Glow pictures. Christine got that tablecloth. She is my Shayro, and so she got a Shayro bundle. And this is what we want to do. We don't want to wait until the moms and the sisters and the daughters and the nieces and the teachers and the nurses are sick and then be like, oh, wait, you're important.
Mm-hmm.
That's not, I'm going to say it, it's not good enough. You know what I mean? If we can prevent these things that are developed and we can be more intentional, then we owe it to our ladies who birthed us and who make the world go round to say, hey, you're ashy. Put some shea butter on it, or hey, take better care of yourself. You're important, or thank you so much for everything that you give to my life and our community. So the Shayro are women who are doing amazing things in the community that you want to honor, who have helped you in your life, and you want to say thank you by taking care of them like they take care of you. And I love doing that with Shaylo Glow because I did it for myself first, right? That's how the business started. The lotion wasn't working. My hands were, I genuinely felt like I had a 1 degree burn from the soap at the restaurant. And people were going to the dermatologist. I said, I see why my hands were burning until I put the shea butter on when I got home. I started making extra and selling it to the servers. And I knew that more people than just the servers at this one location needed this shea butter. You know, it was something that I had in my hand. And it's interesting because I was actually part of a company who I said was helping me financially, but it was a shea butter that was actually getting me what I needed when the restaurant closed down during Corona. So I love it because it really shows the dimensions of wellness and how they, are intersectional because that's exactly how the shea butter is.
I need to just interrupt you here with a personal testimonial. So I told you that I worked out in the yard all weekend.
Yes.
And Sunday, my hands were so dry from because like when you're working in the dirt and you're planting and stuff, like they were getting dry to the point of hurting. And
Mm,
I was like, I was so grateful to have like your product in my
yes.
house because I walked in, I washed my hands and just put it on, and they were instantly felt better. And
Good.
I was just thinking from last year, because when I garden or do things like that, sometimes it's several days before my
Mm.
hands feel better. And then the other thing that happens is they really look like I've been gardening and like it ages me. And this
Hmm.
time it did not. Like this time,
Good.
like that, your product was just, I used the mango butter and it was
Yes.
not only smelled great, it was fabulous. But
Good.
yeah, like so fun. And thank you for sponsoring this podcast.
Of
And
course.
so grateful that, you really practice what you preach about self and community care, and that you can now, folks, if they want to nominate somebody for a
Yes.
Shearo award, how do they do that, Shannon?
So they would email Shayro nomination, and Shayro is like shea butter and hero together. So Shearo nomination as a subject line, and they will be put in the running and to be honored so that we can again take better care of our ladies. So it'll look different each time. The first time I don't know if I want to tell you what we're going to have yet because it's not announced, but it is a surprise, okay, to take care of them. But know that they're going to get complimentary products. Yes. And excuse me, to shayloglow@gmail.com. So you'll be sending it to the email specifically, and we'll keep everything organized on that way. In the email, I need to know why you're nominating them, right? So again, I gave you a few reasons why I felt like Christine was more than deserving of it and why I knew that she needed it. And so I'm happy for her to have it. Things like that is what I would love to know so that when I tell her what she got, I can also tell her why and bless her. I know that we know that we're amazing at a lot of things. We're podcasters, authors. Again, we're in all these roles, but sometimes it just makes somebody's day when they're going through stuff to know that, hey, because you helped all those voters, we're going to take care of you.
Well, and I also think about, like, I'm thinking my aunt who's going through a pretty tough diagnosis right now and going through chemo and stuff like that. And I need to send her a package because one of the things I love about what you do is the packaging is gold and shiny. And it feels like a present when it comes in the mail. And thinking about, women who have impacted our lives. And it's pretty incredible. It's a great way to give back. So
thank you
for that.
Of course.
I am really grateful for that.
Of course.
Well, my friend, what else do we want to talk about before we wrap this wrap of the season 1?
This is what I'll say to end it out, because before we started, we talked about how much work this is. And it's a lot of work, and that can be overwhelming. It could be daunting, and it can cause people not to start. So again, it's about rest and reset. Take it one dimension at a time, one situation at a time, and remember that overwhelm is part of it. I was listening to this audiobook and I was thankful to learn that overwhelm is part of the learning curve. You just got to keep going past it. So we're women connected in wisdom. You're not by yourself, right? You have us. We have a community. We're building resources. We're doing all this stuff together. And it's possible if you wanted to. So all you have to do is reach up and get the air mask, and we'll get to the end of the journey together from there.
Right. The other thing I want to say to our listeners is there's lots of ways you can connect with us during the week or after you've listened to this podcast. We have been showing up on Clubhouse. Whoop, whoop, thanks
every
to
Monday.
And Mitchell, every Monday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time for a conversation. What we do is we continue the conversation after this goes off the air. So if we helped you to think about something or you worked on something over the weekend, pop over to Clubhouse and let's chat about it and be part of the conversation. The other way you can find us is on Mighty Networks. You can come to Women Connected in Wisdom, and you can come be a part of our community. We have a page on Facebook, we have YouTube, just reach out and get connected because, we don't have to do this all by ourselves. No. We can do this together and in community. And I was telling my crew this weekend as we were working on the yard, many hands make light work. Mm-hmm. And I think that's true about community and mutual aid and our connections. And as women, especially, our partners and our kids don't come with instruction manuals.
Right.
So sometimes we just need a good friend to reach out to and say, what the what?
Yes. What is going
what
on?
What do we do? Right? Because, we know, right as I was telling that story, Shannon, this, and I don't know where it is. I'm going to have to go find it. Mm-hmm. My mom used to have this little plaque that one of her mentors gave her, because my mom was a public school teacher before she retired, and for years. And it said something like, nobody promised every day would be easy, but you've got this. It was something like that. It was motivational. It was really about the reality. And I think what we're all going through today, and especially after this last year, of holding both the grief and gratitude, right?
Right.
This may be hard, but we can do hard things. And it's easier to do it in community and with
absolutely.
So
I love that.
Me
And it's exactly like you said. I talk about the job, I talk about my mom, I talk about keeping the space for yourself. But at the same time, I started a business. I started a podcast. We're on the end of the season for the end of the first season for our podcast, right? So there's so many good things that have come out of it. So I think about being well, being wise, and being whole, and what that looks like all together, of course, and wellness being a verb, right? In each category. So we need at least 8 actions. There's a lot to do, but we're doing it together.
right? And doing and being, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
what you said about meditating and resting,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, and
Yeah.
it's all that. And
Yeah.
some days are more in balance than others, but it's
Mm-hmm.
always good to come together and chat about it and
Yeah.
have time for reset and rest and rejuvenation. Oh,
I love it.
me too. Thank
I
you
love
for
it.
this conversation today.
Yes. Yes, of course. And again, ladies, don't forget to be well, be wise, be whole. We will see you here next Wednesday at 5. We start season 2.
All
Yes.
right, here we go.